Hey, everybody, it's Dianne here at Someone Gets Me, and I have Scott Schwartz with me. He's coming from Southern California, and I'm here in North Carolina, and we are going to have a conversation about life, about what it's like to be a child actor and star and grow into an amazing, productive, talented adult. Like, how does all that work? So, Scott's going to share with us some of his stories and humor some of my questions, probably. So, welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm so delighted that you're here because sometimes people have issues with how does things unfold, and when you're successful as a kid, how do you turn it into a successful as an adult? And you're one of those people who've done that. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in the acting industry. Like, I know you were young because you were doing things as a child, but how did it all get started?
Kind of by accident. I was attending a film club with my dad on Saturdays, and it wasn't for kids, really. I mean, they showed B westerns from the 40s and the old 12 and 15 chapter serials from Republic and Columbia and Universal. And after going for a couple of years, really, I mean, I started going, I was like 5.5, and the youngest guy in the house was like 26. So I mean, it was me and a bunch of adults, and this one other gentleman there. I figured long since passed. His name was Art Ross. He was back in New York, and he said, "Hey, I'm producing a commercial for Yoo-Hoo chocolate drink, and I've known you a while, and you're very outgoing. And do you think it'd be something you want to do?" And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, yeah, we're going to go to Miami Beach for a couple of days, and you get in the commercial is Yogi Berra from the Yankees, the baseball team."
Right.
So I was like, "Okay, I'm in."
Exactly.
And went down there, did it. On the flight back, he flew back with us, and he's like, "You're great. You got to keep doing this." I have a casting agent who I'm friends with out of New York. Her name is Joanna Prosciutto. She was a sweet lady and kind of give me the good, the bad, the ugly, and introduced me to a couple of agents. And we ended up picking one of them, and we were off and running.
Wow, that is so amazing. My brother used to love Yoo-Hoo when he was a kid.
I still love Yoo-Hoo.
I know you just brought back all these flood of memories when you said that. I'm like, oh my, yes, Yoo-Hoo's a thing. I love it. And Yogi Berra too. I mean, that must have been really fun to be around him when you were young, right?
Yeah, sure.
Were you starstruck?
No, I was a baseball fan, so I was more like, "Hey, this is really cool."
Right, cool. Oh, that's fun. It's always exciting to meet the people that we love to see, or like that kind of thing. Like, I'm a big sports person, and when I meet people who do those various sports, it always excites me.
Well, it's always nice and exciting when they live up to what you hope. Yes. When they're friendly and they're nice and they're kind. And luckily enough, I got a bunch of people that I ended up doing commercials with and running into, and they were all, for the 99%, were very nice and very kind and very fun.
Yes, that's true. When they live up to those expectations, it's a really good thing. So tell us about A Christmas Story. How did you get in that movie?
Well, I had already done a film called The Toy with Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason, Ned Beatty, Teresa Ganzel, directed by Dick Donner, produced by Ray Stark, blah, blah, blah. And it had come out in the theaters, and I had just gotten home from shooting another film. And I got the call to go in to meet with Bob Clark, the director, for A Christmas Story. Maybe the easiest audition in the history of mankind, because really? I went in, and Bob's like, "How you doing?" And we chit-chatted for about 10 minutes. And he's like, "Listen, I hate to do this to you, but I missed lunch. Can we go downstairs and have a hot dog?" You're asking a 14-year-old kid, "You want to go have a hot dog in Manhattan?" It's like, sure. Right. We go downstairs, had a hot dog. We kept chit-chatting, came back upstairs. He's like, "Listen, it was really nice to meet you." I said, "Is there something you want to read? You want me to read?" He goes, "Nah, whatever we got, you can do." He goes, "I saw The Toy this past weekend. So I know you can handle anything. I just wanted to meet you and say hi." I said, "Okay." And left. And 10 minutes later, I was at my agent's office, and he had already called. That was it.
Great. That's a great audition. Let's have a hot dog together. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
But he already saw your work because he saw the toy. So how was it being in a movie with Pryor and Gleason? What two amazing powerhouses. You were young, so tell me a little bit about the toy.
Well, I was young, but I wasn't that young. I was 13, and I had turned 14 while we were shooting. They were both great. There were reasons why I worked well with both of them. A lot of them had to do with my personality and the fact that I grew up in a house that we loved cinema. We loved Hollywood. We loved, television. So, from Pryor doing, Stir Crazy and Silver Streak and Bingo Long and the other films, I knew who he was. Okay. So that was kind of easy, and I even seen live in concert. My parents were never worried about language. They're like, make love, not war. You say whatever you want, just don't insult nobody. All right, fine. So whatever.
Right.
And Gleason, I loved The Honeymooners. Right. And I was an absolute fanatic for Smokey and the Bandit. Sheriff Buford T. Justice was one of my favorite characters. So getting the film and meeting them, I was a fan, but I expounded, I let him have it in a good way. I said dialogue from their shows, from the movies. So they knew that they had a kid on their hands who was not the typical, hi, how you doing? That wasn't me.
Right. You were educated.
Yeah. From Gleason's perspective, he knew I was a Smokey and the Bandit junkie, when I met him. Within a moment after I met him, he knew because Richard Donner told me to start doing the sheriff stuff to him. So I started doing Gleason to Gleason. And he got a kick out of it because I was all of 4'5.5" and I weighed 52 pounds. And I did him as well as he did him. So he got a kick out of it, and so he knew I wanted to learn, and we had many, many conversations about, New York in the 30s and 40s and him, shooting pool with George M. Cohan, stuff that a typical 14-year-old would not care about. So he treated me really well and really was a very kind co-star to me, education wise, and just filled my mind with information. And Pryor was the same way because I had no problem with anything he said. There were several different forms of Richard. There was the quiet Richard, who was very studious and highlighting things in books and underlining. Then there was the playful Richard, that we'd play video games until 3:00 in the morning, Mattel Television. And there was that Richard. And then there was the you let him loose Richard. And the mouth went, and whatever came out is what came out. There was no filter. There was no PC, anything back then.
Right.
So, he's, I'm 14 and he's pointing out women to me. Oh, what do you think about her? What do you think about her? Well, I did this with her last night and I did. And he's not being coy about anything. And my sex education was like almost zero. So I got it from Richard.
So Richard was your sex education mentor.
Oh, he was.
Gleason was your film mentor.
Here's something like for the younger people that won't understand this, but you will. Right. He was my health teacher.
Oh, yes.
We used to have health teachers. They don't have those no more,
Right.
No, he gave me an education on everything, that was not movie related. And at the same time was very key in my performance and me becoming me on screen.
Oh, that is hysterical. So did you enjoy shooting? You must have enjoyed shooting that film then.
Oh, I had a blast. Listen, I give you an example.
You were just watching.
I had a blast. Oh God, I had a blast. Every day was a blast. Other than like the first day of shooting didn't go well, and that wasn't my fault. But we fixed everything really fast and okay, fine. The party scene at the big plantation house down in Louisiana, there was a couple of women there, and there was one absolutely beautiful woman. Well, Richard told the transportation coordinator to put her trailer behind mine. So her window and my window were back to back, at the back of the trailers.
Right.
You know, and people in show business are very open. You know, nobody worries, oh, somebody could see me. No, that's not how Hollywood, you know, was for decades and decades. And after lunch, you know, she nicely got undressed in the trailer behind me, you know, and she didn't close the curtains, nothing. It was like, yeah, whatever, you know. And I had a good after lunch. I mean, it was really, you know, wonderful. And we go back and we're sitting down. Richard and I are sitting next to each other. And I said, Richard, the girl, the one over there, you know, the pretty one, you know, and he goes, oh, really? Oh, that's wonderful. Of course, he never tells me what he did, you know, and it was a conversation we had years later that he revealed it all. You know, he gave me the whole story. Girls were showing up at my trailer, knocking on my door. Hi. Okay, come on in, you know. And again, you know, I had no idea. But, you know, Richard and I sitting at his home 7 years later, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, all of them, you know, he was like, you know, I did that right. I sent the girls to your trailer, right? You know, I did that, right? He goes, you think you were like Stud Muffin? No. I told him, go to your trailer. And I'm like, really? I had the best wingman ever in the history of mankind.
You did. That's hysterical. Oh, I love it. And you didn't even know he was your wingman until later.
Didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue until years later.
Oh, I love that. I love that because it's one of those things where he's watching out for you in so many different ways and teaching you things and bringing you along with him. And he's doing it in that kind of under the radar method along completely. With being out there. How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, we went to amusement parks, we bumper cars and video games and pinball and all that stuff. We went to the movies. We went to see Poltergeist. And the people in the theater saw Richard Pryor and they started getting out of their seats before the movie started. He's like, listen, enjoy the movie. If you want to take a picture afterwards, that's fine, or an autograph. I'll stay. Just let's everybody just enjoy the movie. And that's what they did. Everybody went back and sat down and we everybody loved the film and whatever. And we come out and he stood outside the theater for almost 2 hours signing autographs on napkins and taking pictures with people and all this stuff. But in his own way, it taught me how to deal with the public.
Yep.
Not realizing, I'm sure, that he was doing that.
Right.
You know, it's, you know, I've joked for decades now, you know, like TMZ and all these. Nobody follows me. Nobody comes after me. And it's not because I'm famous or not or any of that stuff. I'm just nice. So if I see the guys, I'm like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? How you been? Blah, blah, blah. They don't want to bother somebody who's nice to them.
Yeah. That's good.
You know, nice doesn't play. Nice doesn't play on television.
Right. Nice doesn't sell things as much.
Exactly. You excuse the French, but if you're a prick, oh, they're all over you.
Right.
But if you're a nice guy, they leave you alone.
That's the best way to get left alone. Be nice.
Yeah.
At least these days. So after you finish those movies, tell us a little bit about how your life has been. What have you been up to? What have you been doing? And what kind of adventures have you been having? I mean, because these movies were really amazing that you've been in and they're fun.
Thank you. Oh no, I mean, I hit puberty and kind of my face changed. You know, my voice got a little bit lower. My face changed, and it's tough to put really a 14, 15, 16-year-old or a 15, 16-year-old in a film with 13-year-olds when I don't sound that way.
Right.
You know, and my face kind of changed. And it took me till about 19. And then my face sort of morphed back into what you see now, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Like my high school graduation picture, I hate. It doesn't look like me.
Wow.
You know, and then I sort of changed back. But I mean, I stayed in show business. I did other things. I as I say, I was free help for the WWF, which is not WWE, way back when.
Way back when, yeah.
You know? And I had other adventures that I did throughout the years, strange and crazy jobs and fun jobs. And, you know, just kind of, you know, I never shut the door to showbiz because actors don't really do that. That's not what it is. You know, you either get cast in something or you don't. That's kind of how that happens.
Right.
So if you don't get cast in something for a while, people go, oh, he must have quit showbiz. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that.
No.
You know, you could be Montgomery Clift, Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, Gary Cooper, but if the guy on the other side of the table doesn't see it, you don't get a job.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, I've worked in all kinds of industries and done all kinds of things, worked with celebrities, worked with trading card companies, many, many things along the journey to make a living. I mean, my dad was a window cleaner. I cleaned windows for a while, just went back to the family biz and just started cleaning windows.
Oh, that's fun. So what are you up to now?
Working on getting a pilot together and, getting my book put out. I'm hoping I hope September,
Nice.
and make some personal appearances and show up places and try and make a living so I can keep paying whatever I'm paying on my mortgage here.
Right. So you could keep going. Like we all
That's
we're all doing those things. Is the book about your life or is the book about something else? Oh, yeah. Wonderful.
I say it's the good, the great, the bad, the ugly.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's life. It's not only about the career. It's about where I started, the things I did, the places I went, the people I met, and the roller coaster of life.
Yes, and life is a big roller coaster, and I wonder if because obviously you have a lot of creativity and you have a lot of enthusiasm and energy. Has there been a time in your life where you were really greatly disappointed and struggled? And if so, how did you get on the other side of that?
I hit rock bottom. I was 21, going on 22. And I was going to school in the morning. I was going to community college. And then at noon, I went to work in my dad's store. And then at 6, I left there and I went to the comedy store and worked there from 7:15, 7:30 until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I grinded myself for a semester. And at that point, I had enough. And I hit what I consider my rock bottom.
Right.
I packed up my stuff and I left. I had lost who I was. I had lost what made me happy. I lost the smile and the zeal for life.
Right.
And turned around and went back to New Jersey. I moved out. I was in California and went back to New Jersey thinking, all right, I'll stay back here for a couple of months. I'll work things out. Okay, fine, whatever. And ended up getting a phone call from a friend of mine in the adult business who was a feature dancer, and she needed a roadie, somebody to work with her that would get her tips and make sure people didn't steal from her, take her Polaroids, sell her merchandise, all this. And I ended up doing that for almost 17 months. But it kept me on the road. And there was a lot of downtime. So in my downtime, I literally talked to myself. I self-medicated. I'm not a boozer. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a drug addict. None of those things. I self-medicated. I had a pad with me. Pros, cons every day. It was just trying to figure out where, the train came off the tracks.
Right.
And over the course of those months, I sort of figured it out. No therapy, none of that stuff that so many people go to. I just did it myself.
Right. You're like your self-therapist, you in the journal and the pros and cons. And so what did you determine happened that made you get off the tracks?
I was just grinding myself too much.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting enough sleep and I wasn't seeing people that I cared about and I wasn't doing the things that were fun to me anymore. I just put myself in, as they say, a no-win situation.
Right. And that steals the joy. Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden it was like I got to a point where I was just, oh God, I want to say it was like Nashville, something like that. I was at with one of the girls at a club in Nashville and I was sitting in the hotel and it was Saturday morning and, we had Saturday night to do. And then Sunday it's go to the next place or whatever. And, I had taken a shower and just kind of looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you know what? It's enough already. I'm good. Let's go back to doing what we should be doing.
Right.
And, said, listen, this is going to be my last week. Here's your stuff. Don't worry. You'll be fine. You'll get somebody else. I went back to New Jersey, packed up my stuff, and I went back to California. But I've always been a good person, a generous person, a kind person, giving this, that, literally the tens of thousands of dollars I gave to people that in need, friends, this one, that one, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn the difference between friends and users.
Yes.
And friends and acquaintances. Mm-hmm. And I learned my lesson and, brushed off and got back on my feet and got back in the car and went back to California, and I moved in with a friend of mine. He had a big house and, just him in a 6-bedroom house. So he let me stay with him and I worked with him. That's how I was paying my rent for the most part till I got some work,
Right.
And, even the climb to get back into show business of any kind was a climb.
Yes.
Because people in Hollywood, I say agents because that's really who it is. Mm-hmm. They want the fast new thing because that's where they can make the quick buck. And I wasn't that. I was an older face, an older talent. Even though I was all 22 years old, it didn't matter.
Right.
And they literally would say to me, so what have you done lately? And I said, well, I traveled the country, They're like, oh, that's nice. But you haven't done anything lately? I'm like, you mean show business? No, I was going from Detroit to Windsor, Ontario, to New York, to Connecticut, to Massachusetts, to Nashville, to Knoxville. Oh, well, we'll have to see. And inevitably, they wouldn't sign me. This one wouldn't sign me. And I ended up getting an agent through a friend,
Right.
And I bounced around a little bit from agent to agent because I wasn't getting work fast enough for them. They didn't know how to push. And back then it was not nearly as retro loving as it is now. Now people want to see people from the 80s and 90s, whereas in the 90s, nobody cared about the people from the 80s anymore.
That's true. That's so true. It's like the nostalgia has really kicked in and people are searching for those people in those days and those times. So,
yeah, I mean, it's great to run into people who are fans who say, how come you're not working? You're funny and you're this. And I say, listen, you got a job, let me know. I mean, I've worked for, basically almost nothing to, a good salary. It's what the budgets can afford and what the roles they want to give me.
Right.
But you got to keep going. That's the thing. It's easy to say you just got to keep going, but everybody is different and it's based on their life experiences. Mm-hmm. I mean, I went through a time from the very end of 2009 until the middle of 2011. I had 18 family members, friends, acquaintances pass.
Ooh.
I went to 12 funerals.
Wow.
In those 16 months. And every time the phone rang, I'm like, okay, who's passed away now? Who's gone now? But at the end, when I got past that time period, it changed me because I realized what life was. Yeah. Life is a cycle. We're born, we grow, we get old, we die. I mean, that's just what it is. And there are too many people that take this life way too serious, not understanding that every day you waste is a day you don't have anymore.
It's gone, totally gone.
Mm-hmm. Smile, laugh, tell a joke, sing a song, do things you enjoy, and today, I shouldn't say today, but the last couple of years, people have just gotten engrossed in this cycle of hatred and absolute, devastation with what's going on, between the COVID and before the COVID and, the last president, Trump, and all these things. And this constant just anger, mm-hmm. I don't feel that way. I'm not a hardcore Democrat, and I'm not a hardcore Republican. I've always kind of been up the middle. I like to be logical, sensible, reasonable. Let's keep this thing moving. That's all.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And let's be kind to everybody instead of and the fighting and the hatred. It drives me insane. And I sit and I scratch my head and I go, what happened? You know, we lived in a semi cozy place where it wasn't like this, where it wasn't everybody.
Right.
Now it just seems like it's everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I think how I think. If you don't think how I think, I hate you. You're my enemy. You're Satan. And I'm going, what? No, we live in America, free country. Let's just enjoy. But every day, you know, I mean, like I said, you know, I try and just tell people, you know, look at the surroundings. Look at what's around you. Enjoy what you have. Because what we have is a whole hell of a lot better than what a lot of other people have. Mm-hmm. You know, we should be much more thankful and grateful than what we really are. People take a lot of things for granted. You know, I don't do that.
No.
You know, I've worked hard since I'm, 8 years old. And, there have been people that have said many, many things about me. And I go, listen, I can wash my face at night, look in the mirror, and I'm okay with who I am. Mm-hmm. If you don't like who I am, that's your choice. Since you're not paying my bills and you're not taking care of me, I don't have to worry about what you think.
Exactly. And, you've worked hard your whole life. And I think that's one of the things a lot of people miss about people that are actors, or I work with a lot of musicians and things like that, where they think, oh, it just comes easy. And I'm like, no, it's very hard work. Being on the road is hard work. The skill set you need is hard work. There's a lot.
I love the road.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard work.
It is hard.
It's fun. I mean, when I
travel, it is hard because you're not sleeping in your own bed.
Right.
And I got a little baby girl. She's 4 pounds, and I like to bring her with me places because I like to have her with me. So the sacrifice I have to make when I go places sometimes is I can't bring her.
Right. What kind of dog is she?
She's a mini teacup Chihuahua.
Oh, sweet. I know, because you're a big dog lover too, right?
Big dog lover. I'm an animal person. I don't like to see animals get abused. And I'm not talking about bears and wolves and stuff. No, I'm talking about dogs and cats and, right. House pets. Right. And I don't care if it's a pit bull, if it's a German Shepherd, a Great Dane, or a mini teacup Chihuahua. They're only animals.
Right. I have a Labradoodle, and she's like this just intuitive, amazing, loving, just presence. Of course, she's 70 pounds, so they can see her when I take her places. I can't hide her.
Yeah, my little baby. Nobody, and she doesn't bark and she doesn't bother anybody. So, it's great when I can take her. But, I love animals, and I was the president of a minor consideration, which is for child labor laws for 2 years. And that came out of the gentleman who formed it. His name is Paul Peterson from the Donna Reed Show.
Right.
And, always given back in some way, be it advice or, sharing knowledge, basically, So when I did that, it was an eye opener to the different things that kids went through in different parts of the country, either on the positive or the negative,
right.
Where there's almost no child labor laws, or they have minimum child labor laws, or, the Coogan law, which is for the finances of kids, that it actually is a federal law, but yet 40 states of the 50 don't enforce it. And that's for protection for the kids' money.
Right. Right.
So I mean, it's been one hell of a journey.
I think it's very fascinating. So if there's people listening to us from all over the world, and I want to know if somebody's listening to us and they're feeling kind of stuck, and they want to get to the kind, generous, be more joyful, almost kind of like that burned out phase that you went through, that you therapied yourself out of with your journal, which I think is genius. What would you tell that person that's feeling stuck and wanting their joy back, but they're kind of feeling that malaise of all the goofy anger going on?
Yeah. I mean, everybody is different. You have to find the happy place. You have to find where your happy place is. You really do. And I don't mean, giggly and all that. I just mean comfortable and content with life, and you're okay with it. I always say, listen, take some time, relax, take a deep breath, go, okay, what is this? What is this? What is this? Why is this happening? This happened because this happened. There's always an action to a reaction, you know. So, you know, I try and just tell people, just sit back, try and remove yourself from whatever it is you're going through and look at it from the outside in and go, okay, where did this happen? Why did this happen? I mean, there are things that doing it won't correct. You know, if somebody has, you know, very strenuous financial difficulties, you know, well, they have to figure out what to do to bring finances into the home, you know, home, apartment, whatever, to make a living, be able to put food on the table and a roof over your head. You know, there are times when I did the most extreme things to do that. I never sold drugs, nothing like that. But, you know, I had to do things I never thought I would do, but it was for financial reasons. Sure, I had a roof over my head and food on the table. Right. You know, if you got to become an Uber driver, whatever it is. But, you know, again, you just kind of got to just find the inner strength. Everybody has it. We all have it. We just have to find it.
Yes.
You know, there are sheep, there are lamb, and there are leaders. You know, if you want to be a sheep, that's fine. If you want to be a lamb, that's fine. That just was never me in my case.
Right.
I was always very strong-willed. I was always kind of a leader, you know, and you try and help people to say, hey, it's in there. You just got to go find it.
Right. And I think what you're saying is so true because it's in there. And so many people are looking out there for their power and out there for their joy and excitement. They're looking outside of themselves. And you just said it perfectly. I think the answer's inside. You have to go in and find it instead of out, you know,
whatever it is, you know, if it's going to shoot a game of pool, going to a bowling alley, going to a movie, going to the beach, sitting and just relaxing on a beach. There are people that want to just get on a pair of skis, or they just want to go to a cold surrounding. Whatever it is, it's all different inside each of us. You just got to go find it.
Exactly. So what do you do for fun? What do you do for your enjoyment and relaxation today in this time of your life?
You know, I still love to go bowling, you know, shoot a game of pool. You know, sometimes just go have dinner with a friend and sit and BS over a cup of coffee. Yeah. You know, getting older, there are things that I used to love to do that I just can't do anymore. You know, get on a basketball court and go shoot hoops for a while. You know, the body lets you do things and doesn't let you do certain things, you know.
Right.
Not that I don't love it, you know, because I still love to shoot hoops and I love playing baseball and football. You know, at 50 years old, I was given the opportunity to actually get inside a professional wrestling ring. You know, and it was 50. I was 50 years old, and I sort of knew what I wanted to do. And my mother thought I was crazy, you know, and she's like, "You're going to hurt yourself." I'm like, "Mom, I've been waiting to do this since I'm 8 years old. Trust me, I'm not going to hurt myself," you know.
Right.
And there was a guy that wrestled back in the 80s and 90s named Randy Macho Man Savage. Mm-hmm. And he used to get up on the top of the ring and in the corner, and he'd put his arms up and he would do a flying elbow onto a guy laying in the middle of the ring. Well, this is what I wanted to do. And ended up the thing that just kind of happened through one of my friends, Jerry the King Lawler, who was a wrestler and a WWE Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Went down to Mississippi and got my wish, and I got to do something that was on my bucket list.
Oh my God, I bet that was great.
It was fantastic. The phone calls I got afterwards, the emails, the little things I got from other people. Oh, that was great. That was great. And I'm like, you know, I didn't do it for the adulation. I did it because I wanted to do it.
Right.
You know, it was the bucket list.
Right. Cross that off the bucket list. How fun is that? Especially since you'd been wanting to do it like your whole life, you know?
Oh, since I was a kid, I was a wrestler. My mom grew up a wrestling fan. I grew up a wrestling fan, you know, even, you know, Bruno Sammartino and, you know, Ernie Ladd and Andre the Giant in the 70s, then going to Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and Roddy Piper and all those guys in the 80s. And then, I mean, I ended up working free help, as I said, for, backstage with them for a while. I loved it. So it was always something I wanted to do, but just never had the opportunity. And when the opportunity came, I didn't care if 50 years old or not, I was going to do it.
Right. And that's a key point too, is like when the opportunity shows up, if something that you want to do it. Don't let fear and don't let other things stop you. And I think a lot of people who are stuck and a lot of people who are kind of thrashing around, it's the opportunity shows up and then they kick it out or they deny it or they say no or they do something.
Well, a lot of people are afraid to take chances. See, there's different ways to live life. You can live or you can exist. That's kind of how it is. Most people exist because they don't take chances in their life. They play everything safe. They just play it kind of like level and even keel and okay, fine. And so they just exist over the course of their lifetimes. Maybe they'll have kids, whatever that may be, but it's still existing. It's not the taking the chance and living part when presented with an opportunity to do something that you really want to do. You don't step back and go, well, I don't think. No, you want to do it. You put your one foot in front of the other and you go and you do it.
Yes.
Because then you can never turn around, look back and go, oh man,
Right.
I mean, I got a few of those in my life. I go, oh man, but not too many. I've lived a pretty fun life. Crazy, fun, adventurous. Some people say insane. I've not jumped out of a plane yet, or something like that. But
I think fun and adventurous. I think that's what it sounds like, and I think that's really amazing. So, what do you see for the future for you?
Well, as I said, I've got this pilot that I'm working on, so hopefully that will get going here very soon.
Right.
It's more or less like, between finalizing budget and COVID, we're kind of just at the end of that situation. Let's pray.
Right. Can you share with us a little bit about the pilot, or is it still secret?
It's a show about myself and Todd Bridges from Different Strokes and many other shows and things. And we're brought together in a very, I don't want to say curious way, more of a, you got to be kidding kind of way. We end up getting together and become friends and roomies and all the things. And, but it's the comedy in it is very throwback. The characters in it are all over the place.
Nice.
I kind of took the mold of Seinfeld and went 100% the other way. Because that, the characters that I were thinking of, it's like, okay, Newman, the post office, the postal guy, So I'm like, okay, he's about 5'7", he's big, heavy set guy, okay. What's the exact opposite, 100% opposite of him would be, a little person that's about 4 foot 10 inches tall and, is black and bald.
Right.
So I went, and there's still humor in everything.
Sure. What's the name of the show? What's the name going to be? Do you know?
Strangely Connected.
Strangely Connected. So everybody keep watching out for Strangely Connected.
It won't be for a while because we haven't shot the thing, and
right.
It probably if the earliest would probably be January, February to hit some kind of airwaves, if any. We don't know.
Right.
We got to see where it goes.
There's so many factors in all of those things, especially like you said with COVID and everything. And if everybody knows to look for Strangely Connected, then they'll start looking for it. And if when that happens, you want to share with me the link, I'll add it to the show notes for you so that people can find it. So that's cool. So is there anything that you wanted to talk about today that I did not already ask you about? Because I've already asked you a lot of things, and the value that you have shared and your ideas are really spot on, perfect for everybody. So is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask?
Not really. I kind of covered everything. It just, I just hope that people would be kinder and nicer to each other and be more understanding and open-minded and not, as judgmental as we've never been this way as a society. And it's just, it's just depleting. All it is depleting and defeating, the division that we have, and all we have to do is, again, step outside the box and look and say, okay, why is this happening? Mm-hmm. Who's doing this? What is going on?
Right.
And if we're not so reactionary, let's not all react so fast. We hear something happens, don't react. Just wait. What's the story? What happened? What went on? Something else that we just kind of, now it's, again, the social media, the internet, it's kind of changed everything. We grew up in an era of the 6 o'clock news, the 11 o'clock news, and that's all we had.
Yep.
Now it's 24/7 on 40 different channels is, 30 different viewpoints.
Right.
I always say, get informed, be informed, open your mind, read. We've had a lot of talk about this guy, Jim Crow. A lot of talk about this guy, Jim Crow, lately. And I've asked people, do you know who that is? And they go, oh, it was some guy from way back. And, he was against black people and all this. And I'm going, really? So that's what you know about. Okay. And I don't tell them, I want them to do it for themselves. Google it, look it up, learn, understand. Right. Since I'm on the show, folks, Jim Crow is not a real person. How about that? Jim Crow was a white guy in the 17 and 1800s who did minstrel shows. Mm-hmm. And yes, he did blackface, but they used to say that 40% of his audience was of color. And they loved him because he was entertaining and fun and could sing. So it would show African Americans in a talented form. But people did. Now we have such a twist on it. What it's become. Now it's become something it wasn't. Well, he dies in 1860, 1865 is Lincoln, 1867, everything gets ratified. But then the Southerners did, the Southern Democrats held the African Americans down and did what the Civil War was about, the North against the South. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting to hear what people think about it.
Right.
I'm like, no, gang. The KKK was started by Democrats. Yeah, they don't understand that. You ask a lot of people what party Abraham Lincoln was, they'll tell you he was a Democrat. I'm like, no, people, that's not where we are. Mm-hmm. People have got to get informed and understand.
Yes.
And not use Jim Crow, Hitler, Nazism in relations to what we go through today. There's a big difference.
Huge.
And there are people that tell you the Holocaust never happened. There are people that will tell you, I'm just trying to think of just the ridiculous things that I've heard, and nothing's even coming to mind because I've been doing this for a while and I didn't have coffee this morning. I should have had my coffee.
There you go. That's what it is.
But, if we would be a more understanding, kind, society to each other, life can be peaceful. I don't care what color, what creed you are. I give everybody love, care, and respect. Now, if you don't give me love, care, and respect, well, then we got a problem, But we're all people. You'll excuse the French here. Eat, sleep, shit, breathe. We all do it. We all do it. We all put our pants on the same way. Mm-hmm. Male, female, or other, as they're now saying. Right. We all do it. We all put our pants on the same way. Mm-hmm. We just have to understand, right and wrong. A lot of times there's that gray area.
Right.
And it's in that gray area you have to find the common ground.
Right.
And make peace.
And that's where being educated and informed comes in. Right.
Sure.
Sure.
So
I have one final question for you.
Boy.
I know it's
the big finale.
It is my finale question. And I want to thank you for being on the show. And I want to tell everybody who's listening that check the show notes for more information and how you can follow and appreciate more of Scott's work. So here's your final question. You ready?
Go for it.
Oh, that is, if we're going to have a billboard that the whole world was going to see, that was going to have your quote on it, what would you want that billboard to say?
Oh boy. Come on. That's not part of the billboard. This is my other one.
Oh, look. Little baby.
This isn't the teacup. This is Reggie.
Hi, Reggie.
Go down, okay. I'm on, buddy. Okay, thank you. Be kind, be sensible, be logical, be loved.
Ooh, I love that. That's a great one. That's great. So your billboard.
Did I leave out the be informed? I left out the be informed, but that's okay.
Well, we can put be informed, but just put lots of B's and then just drop it down on the billboard. That'd be perfect, right? That's excellent. Well, thank you again for being on the show and for sharing really neat information and inspiring me. And I loved especially the bucket list part. Like, I love it. So everybody, if you love everything that Scott's been saying, follow him on social media. And I've already been on his Facebook page and followed him. And
Scott Schwartz actor is my page on
actor. Okay. We'll put the links to all of that in the show notes for you guys, because I had to hunt a little bit to find it, but I did. And you want to follow him because you'll be inspired, and we all need to be inspired. So thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome. Stay well, everybody.
So remember, everybody, keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a purpose. So go out there and let your light shine, and go be informed and be kind, as Scott just shared with us. Until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, be well.